of that, we have our, let's say, here, as you can see in the chapter 3, the research priorities, the new research priorities. So here you can see what were the former research priorities in the 2019 research agenda, which were discussed already, about medium systems, new generation high temperature UTS, etc. So I don't go into the details, but as you can see, this is a document for our communications about our wishes, our vision for how research and innovation has to proceed and progress in our sector. So if you go to the next slide, the task of the working groups of our geothermal panel is on the one hand to prepare such type of vision documents or strategic documents. On the other hand, to monitor and the implementation of how these ideas are permitting to the Commission and how they are turning into research and topics and research program, and how these research program and topics are solving the questions that we are raising in our strategic research agenda. So as you can understand, also due to the changing situation in the markets, in the general situation of the energy sector, we have to continuously adapt to this situation. Here, as you can see, since the last 10 years, the market has changed a lot in Europe. We can talk about a progressive growth of geothermal market with 25 gigawatt thermal installed overall for heating and cooling, more than 2 million units, and more than 100,000 are installed each year. Indeed, we have seen in the last years an increase in the market in several countries, in several key countries, Germany, even in countries where traditionally the geothermal sector was much lower, like in Spain or in the southern Europe. So we are seeing a changing markets. We are also seeing, very interestingly, an increase in geodistrict systems. Let's say in geodistrict systems, we see all this integration, this interaction between the different forms of electricity, heating, cooling, or shallow geothermal heat pumps working together in the framework of a city. So we can say now that at the difference of 15 or 10 years ago, geothermal is growing all over Europe. It's accepted form of energy, and we are facing new challenges really to boost and to accelerate this deployment all over Europe, particularly in view of the new challenges we have in the energy situation. So there are a lot of expectations also within the Commission that geothermal may be one of the key pillars of the growth of the change, of the transition to renewable energies in Europe. So to face this ambition, this challenge, we have also to adapt our new vision, our new strategies. And if you go to the next slide, we have to, let's say, increase also our, let's say, our scope for our projects, our funding. And as you can see here, also in the area of funding, we were successful in raising much more money, let's say, much more funding than in the past, with more than 300 million euros for projects in our area. And we identified 36 EU projects that were, let's say, projects that somehow or took essential parts of our past strategic research agenda and adopted these topics. So as I try to convey here in my talk, there's still a lot to do. We have to adapt to new situation. We have to achieve the scalability that our sector is not reached yet. Let's say we are still a niche form of energy within Europe, but the potential is huge. Our potential is huge because also we are talking more and more with other sectors like electric sector. Within our ETIP RHC, we are talking to the ETIPS net, for instance, where all this integration between networks, heating and cooling networks, electric networks is discussed. So there is much ambition and much expectation of what the geothermal energy, and particularly shallow geothermal energy, can deliver in the new market situations. One of the key things is that we have to achieve market conditions that are substantially improved. So as we all know, many of the barriers that are still there pending to be solved are barriers that have not to do with the, let's say, with the technology itself, but with market conditions that have to be improved, like particularly the skills. The skills aspect has been raised before by Philippe, and this is one definitive barrier to be removed. So we have new challenges to meet. We have also old technology challenges. For instance, shallow geothermal, we have still the pending question of the raise of the costs, which is once and again mentioned as one of the barriers that still has to be overcome. How to reduce costs in comparison to other technologies to make it more attractive in the market. Here we have questions like integration, digitalization. All these aspects are old aspects that we have to somehow renew in our working groups, in our vision, that we have to bring as new topics and to make them really adaptable or adoptable by the Commission as new topics for research. So we here work, this is a little bit how we work within the Geothermal Panel to, let's say, to bring about this strategic research innovation agenda. As an example, we worked for 6 months on this working group structure to implement the 2019 agenda you have seen. So here the work of all of you is critical, the participation of the community. So one of the, I think, of our key successes is that we were able somehow not only to put the first of the panels, we are always the first brings and to succeeds in bringing together its research agenda, but also I think we have a broad participation from the community. So our role as a geothermal steering committee or as geothermal panel is also to raise up your interest and your participation in this process of identifying and explaining what are the topics that have to be taken up by the Commission. And I think this is one of the key successes. So we held a public consultation in October to, let's say, to prepare the room for a new process, which, let's say, would have started in October 2021. Today is one of the steps, important steps to really adopt a new structure of these working groups and to make you aware as a community that you can participate and really animate you to participate in this new working group structure, to explain what is the content of this new working group structure, and to prepare the room for the next SRIA, which would be in several years. So here we started, as I said, this consultation, October 2021, and this was quite successful in our view. We had almost 20 responses. What we did was to, let's say, to propose some topics for the new SRIA. And here you can see what was the result of the consultation. Some of these topics, like thermal storage, low temperature district heating, cooling systems, cooling itself, which is more and more of the interest of the European energy system, or system integration, which, as I said, is definitely a key topic, where had the support of all the people who were consulted and who responded to our consultation almost 1 year ago. There were other topics, like here you can see which had majority support. We always talk about cost reduction, building renovation, which was an old topic in our last SRIA, new business models that could support the growth of the market in shallow geothermal, or the loopholes, how to better tackle what are the loopholes in the ground source heat pump market development. We have also a new challenge for decarbonization, peak demand. Let's say how we can, through storage, really shape the peak and have also the community engagement or the hybrid systems. Some of these topics, as you see, are words that were used before in our topics, but they are, let's say, mixed in a new, let's say, fashion. And we had the highest numbers of no interest in the topic of taxation, electricity prices, CO2 taxes. So there were 9 people who really said no to this topic, that this was not of their interest to participate in such topic. So I think this was a quite good, let's say, result of our consultation. There were a lot of interest, and I think this paves the way to bring about this new working group structure, which today I would like to definitively endorse and to communicate to the shallow geothermal community. In our previous structure, we had also, along with the working groups, we had leaders, and these are very important roles. So here, as an example, our first working group was about ground coupling, subsurface technologies, and the leader was Bruce van Helden from Holland, and he was helping us to really bring together experts interested in this working group, in these topics, to, let's say, to define and to really phrase all these topics in order to let's say, to construct our SRIA. We had also the working group 2, shallow resources, with Philip Bloom. We have the non-technical barriers as a working group with Rick Pasquale of Ireland leading the group, where financing, regulations, qualification were discussed and were, let's say, structured in form of topics. We had also Luca Guglielmenti from Unige talking about the deep geothermal heating and cooling supply and demand. So there were already in our latest SRIA a tight connection with the deep heating and cooling community. So this was from the past. So with the new working group structure, which I would like to propose with this slide here, we would also have the, let's say, the challenge to have some leaders, let's say, having this working group as their leadership, and then also to participate in I would like to invite all the community of the shallow geothermal panel, or the geothermal panel, sorry, to participate in these working groups, to raise, let's say, to express your interest in participation in these working groups. And even if someone is willing and has the time and the willingness to lead some of this working group, I would really be thankful and encourage you to participate in this new SRIA. So we have now 3 big areas, as you have seen from the topics that were discussed before. We have, let's say, we propose 3 main areas for the new strategic research innovation agenda. One would be the area 1, which is technological development for shallow geothermal. So there's, as I said before, still a need to reduce our costs, to tackle the question of cooling, which is, I think, from the technical point of view, was raised as an important question and which possibly needs some particular focus in our new working group. And tackle also the question about building renovation. As you see in Europe, the majority of buildings that will be here in 2015 will be existing buildings that have to be energetically renovated, and we still are facing challenges in how to make geothermal energy more applicable to the renovation sector. So I think these 3 topics were accepted as very important ones and would have as a common umbrella this technological development for shallow geothermal working group number 1. The second working group would integrate other topics more dealing with the energy transition as a whole, with the new opportunities that raise from the new situations, like, as I said before, system integration is a very hot and important topic. Low temperature district heating and cooling system, what is called typically 5th or 6th generation district heating, in which they deploy the temperature in which the district heating is working is much lower than before, in which really gives huge opportunities to systems, including heat pumps, including deep geothermal systems, in which you can really play with a lot of levels of temperature, and our technologies could be really good contributors to this type of new generation district heating systems. So what are the challenges? What are the opportunities also in these new heating and cooling systems? This would be one of the hot topics that our working group working group 2 would deal with. There was the question about business models, financing, which had also some let's say, many people interested. How we can improve the community engagement through, for instance, the new energy communities, which is a figure in which, for instance, in Spain, where I am monitoring a lot this deployment of energy communities, none of these energy communities are really taking into account, for instance, the possibility to include geothermal as one of important aspect in the energy production of these communities. So I think this is definitively something in which we need new inputs, we need new ideas, and in which we need also new type of business models that make this possible. Loopholes in the ground source heat pump deployment or challenges about decarbonization could be rather additional topics that are included in this working group too. And finally, the cooperation of the ETIP DG, we are part of a broader community with the ETIP deep geothermal, must be really tackled with a working group dedicated to the hybridization, integration between deep geothermal system, thermal storage, which is a huge, let's say, topic all over Europe. And there is still no awareness in the broader energy community about the possibility of using the ground as a storage, a huge energy storage with immense possibilities for the energy systems in Europe. So this is the the aspects that would be tackled in working group 3. And this is the structure I would like to propose today after the, let's say, the consultation we had 1 year before and with the broader community, and not only approve this structure, but also make you aware of it and let's say, animate to participate in the future working groups and even lead some of these the development of the future topics. So my last slide is not a slide, it's just here open for discussion and to really have your feedback and your opinions about this working group structure. If you feel, for instance, that something is missing, that some aspect that should be important could be included or should be included, we can obviously discuss this and revise it. I think this openness and let's say and dynamic feedback is critical for the success of our community. So if you have some comments, please go ahead.
We have Ingo first. Ingo, for yours.
Okay. Thanks, Philip. Thank you, Javier. First of all, let me introduce myself because I'm actually new to this, and so you probably don't know me. My name is Ingo Forstner. I'm with BWEG, who is a German association dealing with deep geothermics. Just deep, not shallow. And I'm very interesting presentation, very timely presentation. I really enjoyed it. Let me make a few comments first before I start with a couple of questions. I have the impression that in terms of where the priorities and needs for geothermal growth have shifted since the Russian invasion. Perception is that it's mostly growing pains now for geothermal, so that the market pull is there. We just need to satisfy it, and we need to satisfy it well in quantity and in quality. And I've seen that you already mentioned that scalability is an issue, that new business models is an issue, and I think that's very right, and that's also very timely. And with the hopefully sharp growth that we're that's ahead of us, that means that we will have quite a few new players on the block. Who need to get up to speed quickly, and they may not come all from what we call upstream side, so like from a production side, but often from the community side, from the utility side, which is a very different type of business often, and they basically may want to integrate that into their business model on the upstream side to their mid and downstream side business model. So what I've seen is that there is a lot more interest than there used to be, but there is a lot of uncertainty on how to approach things by these new players or potential new players. Where would you, and now my question, where would you place the needs, these needs into your working groups or your panels in the topics? You talk about new business models, that's great. I think that's, but also like some projects that tell people who are from somewhere else what the specific risks are, what the specific time scales are, what the things to look out for are, so that they don't make all the beginners' mistakes that somebody not used to the industry could possibly do. How would you integrate that, or where do you see that?
First of all, Ingo, thank you very much for your comment. I agree completely with your statement. One important thing which was not taken into account, obviously, in this working group structure was this Ukraine developments. That
it was October. It was not February.
That was in October. We were not so far seeing, as you can imagine. But But obviously, this has not only this has somehow changed a little bit. This and accelerated. Many of the questions are more stringent now, and we are seeing more and more these questions that you have raised. Let's say there is a lot of expectation, as you can see. There are new players, and we are seeing them in many countries coming to this market, from the new market, and we are aware that these are the bottlenecks that you are very well identifying, that are there, that were still there, and that somehow now it's more urgent to tackle them and to really see how we can remove this bar, when we can really scale up our market and make. So you have seen, we have also talked about skills. For instance, in Barcelona, it was a hot topic. So many of the people of the companies that were present, they were complaining about the low availability of people and of machines, of drillings, and so we are facing an increasing market, but it could readily stop and have bottlenecks that are very difficult to really remove from one day to another. So how can research and innovation help here? So that is a very good. I think what answering your question, I think I see your concerns more in working group 2, definitively, because working group 1 is more really about, let's say, technological aspects of how to improve the technology, and I think this is a longer scale of a longer time scale, let's say. Okay, but these shorter time scales, let's say, answering to market questions, should be tackled in more demonstration projects, perhaps faster projects that could be deployed even nationally, somehow in a more coordinated way. And I think I see these topics are more in working group 2, I would say. I don't know if Philippe agrees with me. But we have really to reflect, and I think this working group 2 is really a broad umbrella of topics that we could really revise and update, really in view of the new situation, and how to see how we can really bring up topics that are really fastly adopted and that really cover these needs that you have mentioned.
Yeah, maybe just to add one point, Ingo, maybe just to explain, as a European platform, indeed, it's our job to be a platform for exchanging best practices, because it's what you say now, lessons learned from one country to another country. So, right. But in this area of RHC-ETIP, we do that mainly on research and innovation. It doesn't prevent us also to discuss other topics, not like regulation or communities engagement. But indeed, we have not done that indeed recently in the Geothermal Panel, but probably from September 1, the main activity will be to ask the project achieved 2 to 3 years ago to report what was the impact of the research activities. It's important that the research activities have an impact. So we will ask them to report. We will ask the ongoing project also to report their research activities, so to see also a monitoring of what is happening on research and innovation. So indeed, as a platform, we are here to exchange best practices. Yeah.
Just to add to what we were discussing, we will have many new players, and there's a lot of more. I think there's less a need to motivate, but to educate. In terms of research, that's not necessarily pure research thing, but I'm not talking necessarily steel research or like geological research. But do you have anything in mind where you look into the graveyards of failed projects and find out why they failed, and develop solutions for that? Because we in the past we also had quite a lot of ideas, but only few projects, at least on the deep geothermal side, really succeeded. We have a pretty high failure rate early on.
You're meaning projects in the market, or projects or research project that failed?
I'm talking in the market. I'm talking and this could be a research topic. Like you have quite a few quite a few studies that investigate would this work for us. We've got a district heating network, and there's some heat blowers. So let's find out if we can do it. And quite often it didn't succeed. There was maybe some geophysical research, but there was not a first well or second well or something like that. And that may be different from the shallow side. I'm looking at deep geothermics here, right? But investigating what the statistically most difficult issues were, and then from there developing solutions to overcome them.
It's a good suggestion. So we will note that, and I think it's an excellent suggestion. Yeah, to learn from the past.
And maybe typically, Ingo, to this topic, so as you see in deep geothermal, we have also another platform, the ETIP and deep geothermal energy. We have synergies. The two groups are working together, and de-risking is a hot topic in this over ETIP. And the answer here is not only with financial instrument, but also indeed with technological development. So we will have probably our second semester or early 2023 a technical workshop on the different advancements in exploration technologies.
Okay, thank you.
There were, I think, more questions in the room. I don't know.
In the chat, there are also some questions. Philip, you want to intervene? Philip, it's yours.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Thanks for that, Javier. Nice to meet you all again.
Thank you.
And working on Zoom, I really appreciated that one. So I wanted to suggest, Javier, you show the title, because I think this lack of skilled labor is quite an issue. In Germany, it's a big issue. And I think that's something we really should seriously address. So when you look at your topic 2, which is currently called Geothermal Heating and Cooling and Energy Transition Opportunities, I would also call it challenges. And then we could include the shortage of skilled labor into this topic too.
Yes. As you know,
because it's a challenge. Yeah, I mean, in Germany, you have to wait now 1.5 years for a drilling rig. I'm not sure how it's in other countries, but yeah.
Yes, best practices here. Yeah, we will. Thank you, Philippe, for that. We will a little bit write down some keywords, and really, if you have some further suggestion after the meeting, please write to us, to Philippe, to me. We as you know, we have also this structure called GeoDryNet, which we have been trying really to. It's an association which is parallel to all this activity, in which we have been trying to really tackle the question of skills in Europe. And but it's true that since the last 6 months, it has been really the temperature of this topic has raised exponentially. So it's mentioned once and again as a really bottleneck in the market. The companies and the market is facing a shortage in skilled people, not only skilled people, but also equipment, drillers, etc. And so in Barcelona, there was a lot of discussion about that. And so we are looking how we can through new projects, through new exchange of let's say experience between the different countries, we can accelerate the European skills market. Let's say the availability of skilled people. And nonetheless, there have been a lot of activity in this area in the last 10 years. We had the GeoDryNet project. From there, we developed some curricula. We had done courses along in the latest 10 years in many countries in Europe. There were courses. There are also some countries which have already some projects in the so-called levels 2 and 3 of the qualification systems that are already like offering the qualification for a shallow geothermal installer. Like for instance, in Spain, we have this. In other countries are developing something similar. In France, they are also quite development in the skills system. So my summary would be there's a lot of there, but we need somehow to accelerate and to integrate all these experiences in an overarching European experience that could really mobilize their workers much more fastly and readily along different countries in Europe, and could really offer to the companies much more skilled personnel throughout this exchange of experiences. So again, best practices as a keyword. There's a lot of been done, but unfortunately, not every country is adopting all these practices in a sufficiently let's say, fast way, let's say, to tackle all this challenge.
But you see, you have challenges that, and you outline exactly what is necessary. So this is exactly needed. It's a European strategy is necessary for that.
Yes.
Because you have to maybe move people around, rigs around, you know, of course the best practices have to be established in each country, but then they should be similar so that you can exchange people. So I fully agree. So, but I think it needs a strategy. But you say this is not the right platform. This would be the other platform, you said.
Yes, well, it's connected, but somehow the other platform is most dealing with the training itself.
Okay.
Whereas this one is more looking to the future project, and it's a different time scale, let's say.
Okay.
And on the other hand, I think for this other question, we need also the companies. It's critical that the companies that have the need really somehow entering this qualification and training business, and because alone the governments and it's not enough. They are too slowly to respond to the market needs. So
yeah,
somehow we have to reflect. But I think the GeoTrainIT framework is more appropriate to discuss this type of questions than here, I would say.
Okay, thank you.
I see we have Robert. It's the last question because we have after Filippo Gasparin to run from the senior.
30 seconds. Thank you. So I participated 2 days ago in a meeting organized by European Heat Pump Association. They organized a webinar on competency framework. And I would just like to support the idea of Javier, because in this webinar, there were many companies involved, Viessmann, Daikin, EcoForest, and they all have their own training program. Also Bundesverband Wärmepumpen from Germany. So the companies should be also integrated in this training process. So I mentioned GeoTrainIT, I mentioned Europass, but indeed there must be a strategy for training the skilled force in this domain. Thank you. I'm done.
Thank you, Robert. Completely agree.
Thank you. And I think now it's time to give the floor to Filippo Gasparin for presenting the live program, if I'm right. In the agenda. Yes. So we are discussing the funding opportunities. Yes, you share your screen and the floor is yours.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Philippe, for the invitation. I'm really happy to join this very interesting discussion. So I will now present. Can you see the slide? Wait, I can see that there are many black boxes here.
Yes, you are not in full screen mode, but it will come, I'm sure.
Okay, now I'm not able to see how I can put this. Okay. Can you see now? It's a bit better.
Yeah, it's better. We have this
okay.
black box,
okay.
but I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know how to make it disappear, so I try to.
Maybe you just start to stop to share and you share again, and maybe it's right.
Stop share.
And share again.
No, they are still there.
Well, I don't know.
Sorry, guys. I hope anyway you can. You will be
if you can send your presentation later, and yeah, we will share.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. I will. Okay, so let me start by briefly presenting you the European Climate, Infrastructure and Environment Executive Agency, so CINEA in short. It is one of the 6 executive agencies that have been created by the European Commission with the aim to implement different European programs. Regarding CINEA, our main mission is really to support the implementation of the EU Green Deal. I mean, I think that you are all familiar with this very important policy framework, which is about enabling the whole European Union to become a fully decarbonized economy by 2050. So now these are the programs that are managed in-house within our agency. So we have programs such as the Connecting Europe facility, which is financing large infrastructure projects in the field of transport and energy. Then we have Horizon Europe, which is financing mainly activities that are linked with research and deployment. Then we have the Innovation Fund, which is one of the largest funds at global level, financing the pre-commercialization phase of low carbon technologies. And then indeed we have the LIFE program, which is managed within the department in which I'm working. So regarding the LIFE, so it is a very well-known program. It was created in 1992, and it was originally made by 3 sub-programs. So the first one being nature and biodiversity, then circular economy and quality of life, and then climate mitigation and adaptation. Now, under the current programming period that goes from 2021 to 2027, a 4th sub-program has been added, which is the Clean Energy Transition sub-program, so CET sub-program. And with this, so in terms of objectives, I mean, we are still in charge of reaching ambitious objectives such as increasing the sustainability of our economy, of course, reducing the carbon footprint, improving the quality of life, and so on. But of course, with this CET program, now we are financing projects that are fostering the market uptake of energy efficiency measures and the renewables in different layers of the society. We are in fact targeting different stakeholders, so such as local authorities, buildings, consumers, and of course the industry sector. So the LIFE CET goes around 5 intervention areas that you can find also in our regulation, in the program regulation. So we have the first one, building policy and the regulatory framework. The second is rolling out technology, services, and business model. And by the way, this intervention area is the one that has inspired the topic that is currently open for the business sector. Then we have attractive private finance, mobilizing local and regional investments, and then engaging and empowering consumers. Now, the type of action that we are financing with the LIFE CET are really somehow for projects that are very close to the market, that are indeed supporting the market uptake of, again, energy efficiency and the renewable measures, but also developing capacities, skills, and awareness for market stakeholders, supporting the definition of standards and benchmarks, and indeed also supporting the policy implementation. So, I mean, compared to what was discussed before, I think that it is a sub-program, so the CET really somehow complement the ongoing funding opportunities for the research innovation, type of action, because we are really looking on how we can overcome the market barriers that were also mentioned before. So really we are financing projects that are about developing new skills and competencies, developing new business models. So I think it really fit well also in the frame of the discussion that was taking place earlier. Regarding this year call, so in total, there are 18 topics that are currently open. They were launched in May, and the deadline to come up and to submit a proposal will be on the 16th of November this year. So the total budget of these 18 topics is nearly 100 million euros. So we do expect to finance on average, or around 65-75 projects. Just to highlight that each proposal will be evaluated by 3 independent external experts. If you will have a look at our topics, they are very prescriptive, meaning that we have people within my unit, together with the colleagues in DG Ener, we have described and very well defined the objective, the scope, and the impacts of the topic. In order to submit a proposal, you need to create a consortium with at least 3 legal entities from 3 different member states. At least this is true for most of the topics. There are some exceptions for a few topics where you can have a country-based proposal. The funding rate is 95%. and the typical, so the average EU contribution per proposal is around 1-2 million euros, and we do not finance equipment costs, but mainly labor costs, so staff costs. Again, because we are not financing the research or the development or deployment of innovative technologies, we are really trying to create the conditions in order for the existing technologies to be really taken up by the market. So regarding the decarbonization of the industry sector, indeed, it plays a crucial role in the EU Green Deal agenda, but it has an equally important role also in the life CET. As we know, the industry and service sectors are responsible for over 40% of the total EU final energy consumption, accounting respectively of almost 26% and 40%. Indeed, in the last 15 years, the industry sector has reduced its emission of roughly 20%, which is indeed positive. However, if we look carefully, we can see that most of the efforts were made by energy-intensive companies, which means that there is a huge amount of companies out there, mainly small and medium-sized companies that are not part of this clean energy transition. And furthermore, in order to reach a fully decarbonized economy by 2050, the industry sector will have to reduce its emissions of roughly 95% compared to the 1990 level, which make this challenge of decarbonizing the industry sector quite important, and will very much endure in the years to come. So as I was saying, we have 18 topics currently open. We actually made a virtual info day. We organized it a month ago, something like that, where you can really, all the recordings are available online, so you can really have a look at the presentation that were made for all of these 18 topics. Among them, I can highlight that we have indeed a topic that is targeting the energy communities. We have another that is targeting the heating cooling system. And but for the sake of this presentation, I will only focus on the topic that is targeting the business sector. So this topic is made by two scopes. So applicants can choose which one of the two they want to apply. So I will go very fast on the scope A, which is about the energy audits domain, so supporting the implementation of Article 8 of the Energy Efficiency Directive. And I will spend a bit more time in presenting the scope B, so which is about the development of sustainable value chains, because I think it is more relevant for the discussion that you are having now, because indeed it is also about the development of innovative business models in order to have people along the value chain, so upstream and downstream, on board in order to promote the market uptake of energy efficiency, but also renewable measures. So very quick on the scope A. So again, it has to do with the very important Article 8 of the Energy Efficiency Directive on energy audit. So with this scope, we are trying to encourage SMEs to undergo energy audits because they are not obliged by law. So we want them to, anyway, to be on board and to start their clean energy transition process through an energy audit. And then also as part of this topic, of this scope, we intend to bridge the gap between the energy audit and the actual implementation of the recommended measures. So applicants will be requested, first of all, to develop capacity building program targeting the whole staff of the company, so both at managerial and operational level, in order to increase and improve the corporate culture of the company. And then they can either develop local support or integrated support, so meaning training external entities, external companies that they will then approach SMEs, and they will basically take care of the whole implementation process of the measures. So they will undergo energy audits, and then they will try to support the implementation of these measures. So it is a bit on a ESCO model, if you want. And then the other possibility is basically to target the national authorities, the national agencies that are in charge of the implementation of the Article 8 in order to come up with policy recommendations to improve the quality of the energy audits and again, try to improve the certification schemes as well. Now, moving on to the second scope, which is about sustainable value chain. So the idea here, I mean, the overall aim is really to foster again the market uptake of energy efficiency measures and renewable through the development of collaborative approaches among companies operating in the same value chain. So the idea behind is that the companies, by decarbonizing and improving the energy performance of their activities, they will create an increasing value for the society, for everyone, because they are contributing to the achievement of the EU Green Deal objectives, and more in general to the achievement of the SDGs goal, so Sustainable Development Goals that were set by the United Nations. And we do think that in this context, companies can look at their suppliers, but also their customers as partners to further increase this value. And then we do think that through the implementation of such collaborative approaches, companies can, along the chain, can become fully aware also of the risks associated to deliver on the market products, technologies, and services that are highly energy intensive. So what we expect in terms of projects is basically consortium that are engaging with companies on the ground in order to trigger their interest, awareness, knowledge, and know-how on the added value of such value chain or collaborative approaches. So the successful proposal will, first of all, organize a series of national, local, national, and European roundtables with or webinars with the different stakeholders. Of course, companies are in the first run. And then we would like also to push companies to start developing mechanisms that are aiming at capturing the multiple benefits that are associated with these collaborative approaches, such as increasing the resilience of the company, but then also of the whole system, of the whole value chain, or improving the value proposition of the company, improving the productivity, and so on. Then, since we are targeting the business, we don't want, I would say, these collaborative approaches to be something, intangible. We would like really the consortium to start thinking about innovative business models and how these collaborative approaches can work from a business model perspective. So we do expect that at the end of the project, a number of economically viable business model will be developed based on the concrete interaction of participating companies. And again, here, what we really would like to see is that the value of including in the business model of a company the aspect of sustainability are clearly reflected and identified. I mean, we know that companies are using concepts such as net value income, free cash flow to define the value they are creating for a segment of the market, but we really would like to see additional economic languages to capture the value of including, again, the sustainability within the business model. And then lastly, but not leastly, we would like also applicants to define benchmarking mechanisms and monitoring systems with regard to energy use at value chain level. This is actually already my last slide, just with few numbers. So the budget for this topic, so for the business topic, is indeed 6 million euros. And again, we do think that the average contribution per proposal is should be 1.5 million euros. So by doing the math, we do expect to finance 4 projects. In terms of duration, it might have a duration that of 3 years, so it is a a relatively limited time frame. So I mean, in 3 years you should be able to come up with all these aspects. Again, I think it is relevant for you because I really can say that we are really facing this issue of having a huge amount of good technologies that are already there, but for one reason or another, the market is not taking up this important measure. So through this topic, we try to foster indeed the market uptake of such energy efficiency, but also renewables measures. So thank you for your attention. I know that you will have another matchmaking session later on. Unfortunately, I cannot stay because I have another meeting, so I can take a few questions. Again, I just gave you a small introduction on this new sub-program, so the Clean Energy Transition sub-program of the LIFE, so at least for you to know that there is this sub-program that is really looking at the market uptake of the measures, so at the market needs, I would say. So we are not financing, again, research and innovation activities, but market uptake activities. I just gave you a small overview on this sustainable value chain scope of this business topic. But if please have a look at our webpage, CINEA. There you can find all the presentation with the recordings of these 18 topics, and you have time until November to come up with a proposal. So happy now to take any question if you have it.
Thank you, Filippo. So indeed, we understand you have to leave soon. So do you have any question to Filippo? Please raise your hand. Anyway, as you mentioned, we have a room session to discuss that, all the topics in life.
Rather than a question, well, question and comment to Filippo. Thank you very much for your presentation. I found it very interesting. I'm happy to see that life is more and more addressing the energy question, because in the past this was not so much the case. So I think this idea about upscaling, I think, fits very much with the needs we have expressed here in our meeting. That's as you said very well, that the technology is mature in most cases. The experiences are there in other countries. They have to be adapted to local conditions sometimes. But there are market challenges like education, like integration, that are very difficult to solve without such type of projects. So I hope that the audience has been inspired by your words, by your topic, and hopefully we see some geothermal projects in this LIFE program. Do you think the question about which was raised once and again here about skills is something that fits into your scope?
Yeah, I think definitely. I mean, skills. It plays indeed a huge role in having people, having the right skills to take up these measures. So indeed, the skills it is very important, and it will play a role. And indeed, it is an eligible activity that can be implemented and supported through these RHC-ETIP programs.
Thank you very much.
We have just one question from Victor Vicol. Victor? We cannot hear you.
I think there are some technical issues because we cannot hear.
No, we cannot hear you. But maybe you can put in the chat, and we try to answer in the chat. Because indeed, I see time is running. Of course, we have some flexibility on that. So we try to answer, Victor, your question in the chat. So thank you, Filippo. And now we go to the second part of presenting the funding opportunities to look at what are the open calls in our region, Europe, and also the Call Innovation Fund. I'm quite fast to allow you to have the matchmaking event. So just to present you briefly what will be discussed in the breakout rooms. Try to make it full screen. Here we are. So indeed, as mentioned, we have quite a lot of codes open in 2022 on Horizon Europe. So one more for shallow geothermal. So the demand response in energy efficient residential buildings. So it's a code with a deadline 6th of September. So it's a summer job for you if you want to reply. What is interesting, it's a 12 million. So you will have 2 to 3 projects eligible. And here we speak to reach a TRL 6 to 7. Okay, so this is one topic we'll be discussed in shallow geothermal. A second topic is renewable intensive energy positive homes, same deadlines, same budget, so 4 to 6 per project, and so 2 to 3 projects will be eligible. And here indeed is how you integrate what we mentioned in more or less the working group one of a new structure. So environment technologies, renewable energy and storage solution. And we speak also same kind of TRL, so 6 to 7. So you have to reach. So you will have to demonstrate with different demo sites in different climatic regions. By the way, it's mentioned here also this topic. And the third one, and I think it's the last one, on building. So you see, it's not technology specific on geothermal. It's more in a system approach. But with as a geothermal, we have some solutions for that. Is also 6th of September. Is also 12 million budget, 4 to 6 per project. So 2 to 3 projects awarded. And these are for smarter buildings for better energy performance. Quite a general topic. And here you have to reach TRL 8, so quite high, so nearly market ready at the end of your project. And it's always energy efficiency, renewable storage, optimization. So these are quite similar topics. No, it's still heating and cooling. It's more for deep geothermal, so it will be in the room. Deep geothermal is pilot demo site for supply temperature in the range 150 to 250 degrees. So some activities mainly for industrial processes, but we know that in geothermal. So it's 10 million, 3 to 5 per project. So million per. So we expect 2 to 3 projects to be awarded. We are at a low TRL. You have to achieve TRL 5 at the end of your project. A specific one on storage, high temperature thermal storage for industrial application, same deadline, 6th of September, and here it's 8 million budget, so 3 to 4 per project, so like as for ones, 2 to 3 projects will be awarded. Also here, low TRL, you have to achieve 4 to 5 at the end. Interesting topic. Just I remind you that the high temperature underground thermal energy storage was a call with a deadline in April this year, just for geothermal. And here it's open to geothermal, but also to all other kind of thermal storage. But for high temperature, we know that in geothermal, we can provide some. To continue, there's quite a lot of heating and cooling. You could see here also more for deep geothermal. So innovative renewable energy carrier production for heating from renewable. Here the deadline is 27th of October. You have a bit more time. And here you achieve a TRL 7. Okay. Two more interesting, still the deadline 27th of October, renewable energy for agriculture, a bit less for forestry for geothermal, or you can always have a supply with pulp and paper. And here it's 15 million budget, 7.5 million per project, so 2 projects will be awarded. And to achieve TRL 6 to 7. So you see there's quite a lot of topics which are not technology specific, but interesting for geothermal. And this one is about international renewable energy value chain, a bit less relevant for us, although there are some parts relevant. 27th of October deadline, 9 million budget, 3 million per way. If a question, if the slides will be available, yes, the slides will be available. And last but not least, really interesting for the chemical industry, not for high temperature, but for low to medium temperature, renewable integration process demand, 27th of October, 10 million budget, 3 to 5 per project. And here you have to achieve a TL 4 to 5. Also, we have quite some technologies market ready in geothermal. Here it will be requested to develop new generation of technologies for this topic. I was a bit fast, but as I mentioned, this will be detailed now in the breakout rooms. Another interesting funding mentioned by Filippo is the Innovation Fund. So, you know, Innovation Fund, you have two areas, the large scale where it's project with more than 7.50 million budget and small scale when it's lower than 7.5. So on large scale, two calls were already open. One was the second one with a deadline in March, and now they are discussing the third call, and the third call will be probably published in November 2022. On small scale, the first call was published, and now is open the second call. So on small scale innovation fund, you have a deadline 31st of August 2022 to apply for the small scale project in innovation fund. A small remark on the third call of a large scale, which is under preparation. I told you it will be published in November. They will not only fund a demo site, but also manufacturing of equipment. And for geothermal, 3 areas interesting: renewable energy, large-scale heat pumps, and energy storage, including lithium for batteries and underground thermal energy storage. We can discuss that also in the break rooms on deep geothermal. I will be quite fast, maybe just to mention you a new areas of funding, a new program, the Clean Energy Technology Partnership. I cannot say too much, but you will have a call open in September, and you have a launch event, so an info day on 13th of September. It's for people familiar, it's a bit the continuation for us of Geothermica. The RNA Geothermica will continue with a different format, and this partnership will start from September with an info day 13th of September. I thank you for your attention. So I was a bit fast because I wanted to recover a bit sometimes. Now we will go to the breakout room. So just to explain you how it works. So we have 3 rooms, one shallow geothermal, one deep geothermal, one live. The 2 first ones are dealing with more research and innovation topics, and live is more for market uptake. So we have for each session a moderator to present a bit the topics, and it's open floor. It's you to present some ideas, or if you are looking for partners, maybe you can also launch a call for partners. So my colleague Christina will open the breakout rooms now, and you just have to join them, and you can switch from one room to another room. It's really easy to do. So from my side, I will go to the deep geothermal breakout rooms. If I don't see you again after we close, I wish you a good day, and I wish you a good summer break, and see you all back for geothermal panel activities in 2022. But if you're in the deep geothermal, I see you in 2 seconds.
How do you switch to groups, Philippe? To rooms?
How can you join a group?
How can you join a room?
I think my colleague is opening the 3 rooms.
Perhaps, can you give a short definition of deep and shallow geothermal?
Let's say that small scale is shallow, and large scale is deep. So the small scale, individual buildings, collective buildings, tertiary buildings at the maximum.
Okay, thanks.
in the bottom line of the screen is breakout rooms. So we should choose from there. Yes, right.
Yes.
A bottom line of the screen. Breakout rooms.
If you have an issue, you tell me and I assign you in a group.
Oh, hi, Viva.
It's been ages.
Yes, it's been ages.
Good.
Are you still in Spain?
Yes, wait, give me a second. I will turn on the camera. Hi.
Nice
Hi.
to see you.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, so I'm still based in Spain.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Viva from Sequent, based in Spain.
I'm David from Iceland, Reykjavik University, based in Iceland.
Sorry, I just have a small technical problem because I have too many presentations open. So I should close them. And yeah, so it's really to discuss with you what I just presented. And as usual, it's when I might have an issue. But anyway, I will come back to the presentation a bit later. So you have seen what I presented. So in Horizon Europe, you have a lot of codes which this year are not technology specific. Huh? So they are really technology neutral, we could say, although it's renewable energy, but you see really the approach also we discuss in the working group. So it's renewable for chemical industry, renewable for high temperature energy storage, renewable for industry 150 to 150 degrees, renewable for agriculture and forestry. So it's really a demand side approach, and hope as a geothermal sector, we should also answer these challenges. So what happened? I'm sorry, but feel free to open your mic and comment with me. The technical issue is solved. No comments? Or present yourself if you want to present your company. Feel free to also show the expertise you can provide to other partners. Huh?
So I can maybe join. It's the first time that I join this group, so I'm a bit new, but I'm very interested. So we have been working in Iceland. Obviously, we have a long experience on geothermal energy, and currently we are collaborating with some of the Balkan universities, looking into the potential of geothermal for district heating or for residential areas. And we would be interested in looking into a joint projects involving Balkan countries, Iceland, and other European countries for geothermal resources for industrial use or residential district heating.
And do you have in mind a temperature range for that? Because you will not find the same conditions, no?
Yes, exactly. So so very concretely, we've been looking at Banja Luka in Bosnia, where you have resources up to 110 degrees. Timișoara, similar situation in Romania, and Serbia, the city of Niš is also on a geothermal reservoir with up to, I think, 90 degrees, if I remember correctly.
Okay, and as a demand side, you target a specific demand sector?
for each city, it's different, and I would have to talk back to our partners from each university. So we have Erasmus projects funded to establish cooperations with those universities, and EEA grants. So these are these Nordic energy funds to have a cooperation. But in most cities, you have obviously district heating demand, because the energy prices have been going up. Mostly it's used biomass or coal that is being used for heating purposes. And if you could provide an alternative, that would be, of course, probably the highest demand. With the industries, there's also demand from some of the industry for geothermal energy, but I would have to get back to you on the details. Mm-hmm. We can provide contacts to the local partners, and of course we can provide expertise on the technical aspects. At Reykjavik University, we have a long experience on geothermal energy. I myself, I'm more working on those socioeconomic aspects, like the accompanying studies, life cycle analysis, and environmental impact assessments and socioeconomic aspects of new developments.
So from the calls open with a deadline this year, I don't see any really fitting with district heating. No?
Yes.
But what we know is that for the work program 23-24, so we've called open, we expect November, December this year, there will be topics on renewable for district heating. Because the renewable for district heating, the calls were last year, and this year it's more focusing on, you can see, industry, agriculture, chemicals, and so on.
Yes. When you showed the slides, I was thinking of the one for industrial applications.
Okay. I don't know if my computer is completely blocked. No, it worked perfectly. Yes. No.
So I could just write it down very quickly. So I think it was development of high temperature thermal storage for industrial applications.
Yeah. I know this topic. So for your information, David, and people I know that are familiar with this topic. So there were a technology-specific geothermal one on high temperature underground thermal energy storage. Deadline was in April. So indeed, we said to all the consortium, but you have a second chance, because more or less, if you have not been successful in April, this call is more or less the same one, is technology neutral, it's not on general, but indeed you are answering the same challenge. And the deadline is October, I think. I have to see what is blocking my computer. I don't know. Any other intervention? Comments? Feel free.
I wouldn't mind introducing myself.
Yes,
oh, sorry.
Yes,
hello, everyone. We are a very small company based in Galicia in northern Spain, originally from Cornwall in the United Kingdom. And we've been looking carefully at the work that they've been doing there with the United Downs project and the Hot Rocks project. Our background is in hydrogeology, predictive three-dimensional modeling, and open loop ground source heat pumps and ATES. But one of our missions, and this is where we're looking for industry partners, support, universities, is to investigate the deep geothermal opportunities here in Galicia. We've got hot water at the surface of 40 degrees, and the United Downs project in the UK is demonstrating that if you go deep enough into the granite and you find that magical fracture, that you can get significantly hotter temperatures in the range of the 150, 250 targets that we all get very excited about. And of course, if you go deep enough and you're getting 70 degrees, 100 degrees, then you've got the opportunity of using it for industry. So really in Galicia, it's a bit of a win-win, the opportunity for using it for district heating, using it for domestic applications. But obviously it just hasn't been done, hasn't been tried. And so we, in our little corner of Spain, are on a mission to bring it to Galicia in Spain. So if anyone in the group can put us in touch with industry partners, we are Agronodo and Geothermica Galega, and we have a small team of scientists and interested parties based around Europe. But yeah, it's the task of applying for Horizons funding is quite daunting for a small team. So really, it's a bit of a call out to anyone interested in starting some conversations with us and getting deep, shallow, everything going in Galicia.
What you would have, do you have, for example, demo site to propose already in your area? Because it's usually a consortium is looking for partners which should also allow to have a demo site. No?
Yeah, well, I mean, unfortunately, the mapping is extremely limited across Spain, but also in Galicia. There are resources available to demonstrate some potential, but I mean, really, it's a bit of a chicken and an egg. Do you get an interested party willing to drill at a test site, or do you get the interested party interested by demonstrating that you've got a site, if that makes sense? In Chaves in northern Portugal, they're using some quite hot water, and over the border is a town called Verin, which at the moment demonstrates geologically and hydrogeologically, in theory, a high potential. But at the moment, I mean, again, you've got to get the interest of the local authorities, the mayor, the people, before you can really get going with any drilling as well. So it's we haven't got a specific site with permission, but we're really at the very, very beginning of the journey. So hence attending all these webinars and talking and growing our team. So we're probably not even Horizons funding ready, but we're here. We've put our flag in the sand.
Yeah, we understand that indeed, because one issue that we know, and I see that Dimitris is there also with more than 20 years experience, is to start a demo site, you need to have a licensing already ready, you know. And because if at the time you get the license, your demo site will not be developed during the project. And also you have 5 years, you know, in 5 years, it will not always been easy to have your license and develop your web. But probably you should look at other tools. There's also some specific funding on small scale pilot sites, you know, pilot project to test some activities.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do we have more comments?
Yeah, yes, I'm Dimitrios Mendrios from the Center of Renewable Energy Sources and Saving of Greece. We are involved in all sectors and all different technologies of geothermal, from high enthalpy exploration, exploitation, or also in shallow geothermal. Because Philippe, you mentioned for a demo site, we can provide a demo site in shallow geothermal, that's straightforward. In deep geothermal, we can search for a demo site in North Greece, probably, where there is a district heating system under construction in the city of Alexandroupolis. There is also greenhouse heating, and they are interesting also in small-scale power generation. Also in market development aspects, we already have some collaboration with you and have a long history in geothermal.
I see this topic of renewable for agriculture and forestry, but indeed we all think that it's for bioenergy, but in geothermal we see quite a good development, or agri-food industry especially, you know, greenhouses. So here, I got my slides back. Good.
Yeah, we have a good collaboration with agri-food industry, and also we have a biomass department, so we could provide a joint
It's what we also mentioned in the Goose hybrid project. We have not seen a lot of hybrid geothermal combined with other technologies, but probably in the future there will be some more. So just to remind you, I finally got my slides. So on geothermal, it's this one is a bit tricky because 250 degrees will not always be, but 150 in some areas you can have also this 150 degrees to supply it to industry. So here you speak about development at pilot scale, so quite small one, and TRL 5, so low TRL. Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Yes, that could be a heat pump.
Yes.
Very
high temperature heat pumps. High temperature heat pumps would be fitting. And here the only issue is deadline is early September. So it's in less than 2 months. This one is the one you mentioned, David. So development of high temperature thermal storage for industrial application. So it's focused on industrial application. And he also, my mistake, I was saying October. No, this one also is September. It's the other ones which are agriculture is November. So short-term thermal storage, medium to high temperature. And here, contrary to the underground thermal storage, which was at high TRL, here it's a low TRL, 4 to 5. Yeah, it's from this one that we start to have codes more in 27 October. So here, when you look at energy carrier, that indeed is not obvious that it was for geothermal, but they try to make it as much as possible technology neutral. You can see from the wording, and here it's a TRL 7, so it's really innovation action. But the issue is that there will be probably only one project of 10 million for this one. Feel free to comment.
So do you think that this one could be a that the proposal looking into the use of geothermal and combining it with other energy sources? So if you look, for example, at the case of Banja Luka, they have currently a biomass and a heavy oil heating plant, and you could add in a geothermal source into it. Would this be innovative, and would this go into fit to this call? That you have a circle for the district heating where you can add in different energy sources, and then you could optimize the 3 sources in a way.
Yeah, I understand your topic. And actually, for me, this call before was dedicated only to bioenergy now.
Yes.
And when you see there have been some changes to make it a bit more technical, so combine bioenergy with other sources now. It's what we can understand from the wording.
Mm-hmm. Currently they use mostly biomass, but biomass, the price simply increased, and they have the option to use geothermal as well, and to add in a heavy oil. And actually the interesting thing, and actually it would be interesting to see, because there are other cases where you could use industrial waste. And would this go into renewable energy? Because then we would have lots of different cases.
In the previous call, I think it was here, industrial waste was mentioned. I don't know when it was here. Yes, ambient heat or industrial waste heat. You can see. So sometimes yes, sometimes no. You have to see the technical specification of a call. Okay.
So if we can form a consortium, I would be very happy to contribute to a proposal on this issue. And of course, I would like to invite my colleagues from Banja Luka, from the university, to contribute as well.
So maybe David, the best, if you want in the chat, you put your contact details and people are free to liaise with you. And you can all do that. Feel free to put your contact details in the chat so people can contact you via email. So this one, agriculture and forestry, I think it's particularly interesting for geothermal. With so many applications that you can have with geothermal. The only issue is, okay, it's a low TRL, so you will have to find quite a lot of innovation, because indeed today we have quite a lot of technology market ready for this topic. So you will have to develop an innovation for agriculture and forestry. Okay. And probably some of you remember what the wording we were using 20 years ago, the cascade use. Probably it could be interesting to have a cascade use. So this is the topic, and this one, I don't really understand this global international renewable energy value chain. We have not really worked on that, on the digital solutions for defining synergies. It's a really low TRL. You have to achieve 5. Open for discussion and for exchange. As I say, the slides will be available anyway, but quite general topic. We'll see what we can do with that. And the last one, I think it's really interesting, also chemical industry, because too much time we think chemical industry really high temperature, but you have quite a lot of chemical industry in the range 80 degrees, 200 degrees, where geothermal we can provide heat for the process. And here also is a quite a low TRL, so it means it's mainly basic research. So no demo site. You have to achieve 4 to 5 at the end of your project, but it will be maybe allowing to develop new generation of technologies, breakthrough technologies for geothermal to supply heating.
I would like to make a comment. So in Iceland, you probably all know this, we have a high abundance of high temperature geothermal fields. Just outside Reykjavik City is the biggest geothermal power plant, 300 megawatt electricity, 400 megawatt thermal energy. The heat source is almost 400 degrees hot, well, between 300 and 400 degrees Celsius. And now the city government has zoned an industrial zone just next to the geothermal power plant. So there would be this would be an opportunity to develop new industrial synergies using some of these geothermal sources. So if anyone has a good idea for an industry that could be placed next to a really high geothermal energy source, I could provide perhaps the source in Iceland. It just came up. This idea just came up when I saw the title of this call. So this would go maybe the other way around, that you have already the geothermal source, and that you would need to identify the industry that could be located in a remote place like Iceland. So what we have already at this industrial plot, we have omega-4 protein production using the CO2 stream and using algae and using the heat from the geothermal power plant. We have, of course, carb fix, but this might relate more to the carbon budgeting. So you re-inject and carbon capture and storage in principle. And we have the Climework device where direct air capture, CO2 is removed and put into the underground. But there are, well, I just want to mention that there's a huge potential for other industries to come to Iceland and use those energy sources because they are already available.
No, indeed, and we know that the research community in Iceland is really active and in developing new technologies. So indeed, it will be interesting to see how this can be further developed. And I agree with you, carb fix. The key now is to replicate it all over Europe. Do we have more comments? No. So
I could present myself if we still have time. I would like to take the opportunity and present myself. So my name is Vaiva. I'm from Sequent, and I work with the energy team. We don't really work directly with particular areas, but we provide the technological solution. We do the 3D geological and geothermal modeling. So if anyone needs, tools, in your research project or needs some partners, so we're always very open for collaboration. I left my email and actually in the comments, so please feel free to contact me. Personally, myself, I am based in Spain. I worked as a hydrogeologist and I worked as a geothermal consultant for many years, and I joined Sequent just in the beginning of the year. So I've been working with high temperature areas. Actually, we were working at Reykjavik University together with David many years ago. So I'm very excited to see him today. And so I also worked in Iceland and Iceland Geosurvey. So I was always, in the field, doing 3D modeling, as a hydrogeologist, working with the shallow geothermal areas and the high temperature ones. And now mostly focused on 3D geothermal modeling. So if anyone needs, some support on this sort of activities, just, feel free to reach me out.
Thank you very much. So maybe 2 comments. Indeed, I know that at Sequent, you work also on some digital solutions. So maybe it should be a topic for you. But you mentioned, you saw that from a previous discussion, de-risking was one of the topics highlighted. And indeed, we had in mind to have a technical webinar, probably not workshop. We will see because it's already busy second semester on advanced technology for exploration and de-risking tools. Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we could ask you also to intervene during this discussion. I think it's needed. There's a lot of newcomers in the sector. We need to have good practices implemented, lessons learned.
Yeah.
So 2 things. Okay. One is the topic for research, if you're interested in the session, but anyway, we need to exchange best practices in exploration.
Yeah. Thank you, Philippe. Actually, personally, now I'm working on the solution or the workflow, how to do resource assessment in 3D through block modeling and how to do all the calculations for shallow geothermal areas. So the workshop you have mentioned, I would definitely like to participate. So just if I can get, some idea how to enter the workshop, or, probably I have to contact you, Philippe, and I would be happy to participate.
Sure. No, anyway, I think you all have received the invite via email, and we use the same database. So if you're in a database, you will receive.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Do we have more comments? I think we can keep the room open until 12 o'clock. Eh?
Well, I can briefly present myself. So I'm Pierre-Olivier Brunin. Philippe, you know me probably indirectly because you were into the advisory committee of one of the projects we submitted to a call in April, Solution for More Sustainable Geothermal Energy. That was not awarded, unfortunately, but well, it was the first time for me to join this meeting, and I was looking for a new opportunity to put our idea on, and yeah, that's it. And by the way, I'm a geologist. I'm from Delft University of Technology. I'm assistant professor there, and that's it.
No, thank you for that. You could see that in such a topic, although it's in cooperation in agriculture forestry, in Netherlands you have a lot of greenhouses. More and more at this wording. No, you mentioned before the topic on geothermal sustainability. So the work of increased sustainability and circularity. and here how we can have indeed less CO2 emissions in the process for agri-food and so on. So indeed, probably not the same topic than before, because the other one was much more broader, no? Also covering high temperature feeds and the issue of greenhouse gas emissions and closed loop. You see that this wording of sustainability is in all topics. So maybe you can sometimes reuse some of the activities you want to develop in a project in another one. And I have another one in mind. It's in this one also, that they are also looking at enhanced sustainability of renewable heating value and supply chain. Okay. So indeed, this topic of sustainability or solution for sustainable geothermal is there. Okay.
And can you develop a bit more the CET partnership that you presented at the end?
So are you familiar with Geothermica, Erenet?
I heard about it, but
okay.
Yeah.
So the difference, Horizon Europe, it's a program of the European Union, 100% funded by European budget. Okay.
Yeah.
Geothermica is a pot of funding from different national funding agencies. So Geothermica was a pot from 11 countries, so not all countries are eligible. In Horizon Europe is European Union, so all countries are eligible, more than the European Union, because you have Norway, Iceland, also associated countries are also eligible. In Geothermica, it will be the same thing in Clean Energy Partnership, only if your national funding agencies is contributing to the common pot that you are eligible. And here they co-fund also a project. Usually it's quite high TRL, so it's 5 to 7. And in geothermal, I think during the last 3 to 4 years, we speak about 15 projects funded. So no, they decided to not do geothermal, solar, etc. They join, and they call that Clean Energy Technology Partnership. And the conditions will be presented. It's the first time they do an info day mid-September. They open the call, and yeah, there will be some funding for geothermal. So here I don't have the details, more than what you can find in the website.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Do we have more comments? No? So the recording, the presentation will be available as soon as possible in the next days. And with that, maybe it's time to close this meeting. We have a bit some delay, but anyway, the objective was really to have a discussion. So no issue with that. I wish you a good day, a good weekend, a good
short question.
Yep,
I have a very short question. Would it be possible to get the slides
yes,
where you
yes,
put together the different calls? Thank you very much.
Yes. We try really to put that as soon as possible. Maybe not this afternoon, it will be next week. Okay.
On the website, or where are you going to put it?
So it will be on the website, and normally you receive also news via email.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
So we close also the main room. I wish you a good day and hope to see you soon. Goodbye.